Hello and greetings once again from the NJP Ranch. This is Rick, NJP of course, and this is part 3 and hopefully the final installment of this what has turned into a series on the working on the 1995 Polaris Indy 440. Last episode, as you know, we looked at the carburetor. Actually, did more than look at them. Tore one of the carburetors apart and did the cleanup on it and got everything all set to go. And this part, we're going to put the carburetors back on the engine and see, will this thing run? Can we make this run? Let's get back to the shop, get back to work on this thing, and put this 440 back together. Alright, here we are back at the 440, putting the carburetors back on. Some conversation going on in the background and a little copyright music for you guys on YouTube. But getting ready to put these on. I did label which carb came off where. This is the PTO side. And the other side is, I didn't need to mark it since there's only 2 on here. So, on it goes. I'm using, like I said, the old factory clamps on there because I think they're better than using the Worm Gear heater hose clamps. Let's take a little bit of finagling, get that seated into this. Remember, these are brand new boots, so it's going to take a little bit of work to get seated into the boot. You'll know once it's in there because you'll feel it snap in place. That one is mounted, and we just need to tighten up the clamp, and that carb will be good. And then we'll put the throttle body back in. We'll do that once we get both carbs back in. And these, again, you don't want to over tighten on these. Just make them nice and snug. Remember, you're going into rubber here, so you don't need to use a torque wrench on it. That should be good enough. Another thing you want to make sure before you tighten everything up, which I did, is make sure your carb is sitting level. You don't want it sitting at an angle or anything like that because your floats are going to be off and yeah, it's not going to run properly. I decided to fast forward through this part of putting the PTO carburetor back on because you saw me do it on the right side and just doing a little voiceover, and there was some copyright music playing in the background in the shop. So I decided the safe thing to do is to just kind of talk my way through as we speed through installation of the left side carburetor. So now we want to put these back in. And I did spare you guys the agony of watching us change the throttle cable over. We changed the, of course it's got oil injection, so we had a line that runs down to the oil pump. We got that phased correctly. And I did take these off one at a time for these slides for the carburetors. So put the one on the right side in first. And there's you notice there's a notch on here. There's a little pin that sticks inside the carburetor in there. If you don't have that notch lined up, you're not going to drop the slide down in there. Don't force it. If it doesn't go in, don't force it. Just keep turning it until you get it lined up, and in it goes. The top on the carburetor like that. Screw it down. Just like that. And we repeat the process on this side. Again, making sure your notch is lined up. And try not to leave grit or sand or anything hanging on these things. It's not going to be good. I mean, a little bit won't hurt anything, but the less you have, the less chance you have of having issues with it. So, alright, carbs are all put together. Now it's a matter of getting them synced. Make sure that the idle adjustments are set the same. The fuel lines need to be hooked up. And slide it over the fuel inlet. You grab a clamp, put it on there, and that is secured. Okay, they're hooked up now. We got vent lines. And I was going to replace the hoses on these, but these hoses are actually in really good shape. Interesting setup on these, really. This little short part goes onto the carburetor. That gets connected on here. Right there. And those don't need a clamp because there's no pressure on those at all. This is a one-way valve. Lets air out, but doesn't let air come back in. So that just hangs down in the belly pan, similar fashion to that. And this line here actually goes to the air box, and there's a special little manifold in there. I'll show you guys that later. And that's where the air comes in. It goes out down there and comes in up here. Kind of a strange setup, but that's how it works. And then we do the same thing here on the other side. Connect our vent line right to that little antler sticking out right there. Put this down into the belly pan area. I think that's fine like that. And then this will hook up to that other little manifold up on the air box. That's it. Carbs are in. So like I said, I don't think you guys can actually see what I'm doing in there. But that hooks into there like that. And just gets screwed down on there and tightened on just beyond finger tight. Doesn't have to be super tight. We do the same thing on this one here, which you guys may or may not be able to see. We'll get a wrench on these things, get them tightened up, and then we'll see if we can find some life in this old 440. There it is. The old 440 is put together. We're getting ready to put the sparkulators in now, and I'll take a little bit of fuel and dump it in the cylinder just to get her to pop over a couple times, but she's about ready. I may have spilled more on top of the engine than I got in the engine, but we'll see. Let's see if this old 440's got any life in it at all. Key is on, switch is on, let's go. Try to pop. Well, there's a little bit of life there. I don't think we quite got the gas into the carburetors yet. So we're going to try this one more time. Right, wish me luck. Here we go. Or not. This would be without dumping gas down the cylinders. One pull of the rope and... Well, let's button this thing up and wait for snow.